There is a force beneath everything you've ever touched, ever seen, ever known. It pulses in silence, hums in stillness, vibrates beneath the illusion of solidity. It is not matter that holds the world together. It is frequency. This is not a metaphor. It is the truth encoded in forgotten temples, in lost chants, in the breath of the cosmos itself. And yet, we walk through life unaware, conditioned to think in shapes and colors, in names and surfaces, never once pausing to ask, what song is this world singing? And are we listening? Everything is vibration. This isn't spiritual poetry. It's the foundation of the physical. From the smallest particles flickering at quantum speeds to the rotation of planets, everything exists in motion, in rhythm, in resonance. But this truth, this sacred key, was hidden, buried not by accident, but by design. Imagine a world where people knew how to change their lives not by force, but by frequency. Imagine a society that understood words to be spells, thoughts to be broadcast, and emotion as energy in waveform. Now imagine those in power realizing they could not rule such a people, and so it was taken, suppressed, silenced. You are not here by chance. Perhaps this video found you because something inside you was already vibrating in resonance with the message that's about to unfold. Perhaps you felt it, the strange intuition, the odd clarity, the moments of unexplainable déjà vu, the sudden pull toward something ancient and nameless. These are not coincidences. They are vibrational echoes. You are remembering. Where are you listening from right now? What time is it as you hear these words? Take a breath. Notice your body. Even now, it is humming. Even now, your heart is striking its rhythm, your cells dancing in micro-symphonies. You are not flesh. You are frequency wrapped in form. And your resonance is not static. It is a composition, always in motion, always inviting retuning. For millennia, mystics, sages, and scientists have whispered this truth. But it is no longer a whisper. It is becoming a call, a resonance, a return. So let us begin, not with the dry facts of textbooks or the shallow explanations of logic, but with the memory of your own being. Underneath it all, before the noise and distortion of the modern world, there is a note, a pure vibration, calling you home. The first illusion we must unravel is this, that reality is made of things. It is not. It is made of movement. What you perceive as solid is not still, only vibrating too fast for your eyes to decode. The chair beneath you? Vibration. The phone in your hand? Vibration. Your very name? A pattern of sound? A frequency assigned. The ancient Egyptians did not build their temples for beauty. They built them for resonance. The Sumerians did not chant for song. They chanted for activation. The Vedic sages spoke of Om not as an idea, but as the original frequency from which all emerged. Even the Genesis phrase, "Let there be light," is a vibrational command. Not a physical act, but a spoken one. Creation through sound. Why did they all know this? Why did they all say the same thing? Because they were tuned. And now, after centuries of silence, you are being tuned again. Let the layers begin to fall away. The belief that your thoughts are private. The assumption that your emotions are meaningless. The idea that music is entertainment. These are illusions we were given to keep us deaf to the truth. But once you hear it, even once you cannot unhear. In World War II, the shift from 432 Hz to 440 Hz tuning wasn't just an artistic preference. It was a recalibration of mass consciousness. Frequencies affect biology, emotion, perception. By slightly detuning music from its natural harmonic alignment with the earth and the body, the result is subtle dissonance, a lingering unease you cannot name. This wasn't a mistake. From the language we speak, to the sounds we consume, to the architecture of our homes and cities, almost everything in modern life is vibrating out of tune. And you can feel it. The anxiety, the restlessness, the fatigue that doesn't go away. It is not always personal. It is environmental, vibrational, engineered. But don't despair, for what has been manipulated can be restored. What has been silenced can be heard again, and what has been forgotten can be remembered. By you. To listen is the beginning of all healing. You are not meant to live in discord. You are not meant to resonate with fear. You were designed to vibrate with love, to hum with truth, to echo the frequency of harmony itself. And all of that is still within you. As we walk forward together, each section of this journey will peel back another layer of distortion, unlocking the knowledge long kept hidden. You will hear the frequencies beneath the words. You will feel the tuning of your own field, and you will remember, you are not a victim of this world. You are its co-creator. So we continue now into the ancient origins of sound, into the wisdom that never died, only waited. The next movement in this symphony is ready to begin, and it begins, as all things do, with a vibration. Before there was language, before there was light, before even the first thought took form, there was vibration. Not a sound you could hear with your ears, but a resonance so profound that it gave birth to everything that came after. The ancients called it the Word. The Vedic sages called it Om. It was not metaphorical. It was the literal beginning, the pulse that stirred stillness into form. Modern science attempts to describe this primal field as the quantum vacuum, the zero-point energy, or the unified field. But the mystics have always known it is frequency, alive and sentient, a note sung by creation itself. And when it was sung, reality began to unfold like ripples in still water. This is not just the beginning of the cosmos. It is the beginning of you. Within your body, this original resonance still lingers. It lives in your breath, in the space between your thoughts, in the subtle humming of your nervous system. The sound of existence never ceased. It was only drowned beneath the noise. Consider this. Why do all spiritual traditions place sound at the origin of the universe? Why did the Sumerians say their gods spoke creation into being? Why do indigenous shamans sing songs not to entertain, but to summon spirits and heal wounds? Why did ancient Hebrew texts insist that the world was spoken, not formed, but spoken into existence? Because they remembered. The book of Genesis did not open with fire or explosion. It opened with speech. Let there be light. Light did not emerge from matter. Matter emerged from command, from resonance, from the sacred utterance. And that pattern of word preceding world is still unfolding in you. Every thought you think is a vibration. Every word you speak sends out a ripple. You are not a container of sound. You are a transmitter. The ancient Egyptians understood this so deeply that they constructed entire temples designed to amplify specific tones. The stone walls were not simply stone. They were tuning devices. When priests chanted sacred syllables, the chambers would vibrate in ways that altered the state of those present. People didn't just feel uplifted. They were physically, mentally, and spiritually retuned. In Tibet, monks have practiced harmonic throat singing for centuries, producing overtones that allow multiple frequencies to be emitted from a single voice. They believe this technique breaks the barrier between the material and the spiritual. This is not art. It is engineering of consciousness through resonance. Even Gregorian chants, still echoing in stone cathedrals across Europe, were designed using specific tonal intervals known to induce altered states. These were not mere religious rituals. They were vibrational doorways. Across cultures, across millennia, we see this pattern. When humans aligned with vibration, they aligned with the divine. But something changed. The sacred understanding of sound was gradually stripped from the world. Language was reduced to function. Music was commercialized. Silence was filled. And the original resonance, the primal sound that shaped all things, was forgotten. Until now, in the science of cymatics, we see direct evidence that sound shapes matter. Place sand on a vibrating plate and play a tone. Instantly, the particles arrange themselves into geometric patterns. The higher the frequency, the more complex and beautiful the shape. These are not subjective experiences. They are measurable, repeatable phenomena. Sound doesn't just move through matter, it organizes it. So what happens when the human body is exposed to sacred tones? The answer is healing. The body, being mostly water, responds to frequency with astonishing sensitivity. Certain sounds can calm the nervous system, regulate the heartbeat, and even trigger DNA repair. The lost Sufi frequency of 528 Hz is said to resonate at the level of love, cellular regeneration, and spiritual attunement. Is it any wonder this tone is nearly absent from modern music? And 432 Hz, the natural tuning used by the ancients, is mathematically aligned with the Earth's rhythms, the Schumann resonance, and even the spiral patterns of DNA. It was the tuning of Mozart, Verdi, and ancient instruments across continents. Yet it was changed. In 1939, under pressure from powerful regimes, the global standard was shifted to 440 Hz, a seemingly minor adjustment, but one with massive consequences. This frequency subtly detunes the body from the natural harmonics of the Earth. It disconnects. It disturbs. Not in ways you consciously notice, but in ways that leave you restless, anxious, fragmented. Why? Because a people vibrating in harmony cannot be controlled, and so the original tuning was discarded. The sacred became profane. And we forgot. But remembering is not far. You are made of vibration. And the more you align with the natural frequencies that once defined every temple, every prayer, every chant, you begin to restore what was lost. Think of the sound of a mother humming to her child, a song sung across generations without language. Think of the wind in the trees, the crash of waves, the heartbeat in your chest. These are not background noise. These are the remnants of the original symphony. And when you hear them with attuned ears, you recognize that the sacred never truly left. It was only drowned in distortion. The music of the cosmos continues to play. Your task is not to invent new songs, but to remember the one that has always been playing through you. Because the power of sound is not in the notes, it is in the resonance behind them. You do not need elaborate rituals or ancient scrolls. You need only to listen, not just with ears, but with your being. Because every part of you, your thoughts, your emotions, your body, responds to frequency. When you choose words of love, you emit resonance that harmonizes. When you think with gratitude, your vibration lifts. When you speak with awareness, you realign your field. Sound is not something outside you. It is your origin. And so we walk forward, not to a new knowledge, but an old knowing reawakened. Next, we journey into the cultures that held this wisdom before it was stolen, into their architecture, their symbols, their rituals. We travel to the temples and texts where resonance still lingers in stone and breath. They did not forget. and now, neither will you. Across the sands of time, there have always been those who remembered. Long before telescopes mapped the heavens and microscopes unveiled the cell, ancient peoples looked inward and listened. They heard the resonance behind form, the harmony within silence. They knew that the world was not held together by mortar or muscle, but by sound, by the invisible architecture of frequency. These were not primitive minds, but initiates of a sacred science. From the towering pyramids of Egypt to the precise stonework of the Inca, from the spiraled temples of India to the ceremonial chambers of the Mayans, every structure, every symbol, every chant was an intentional act of vibrational alignment. The Egyptians, in particular, saw sound not as art, but as an instrument of creation. Their priests were not merely religious leaders, they were vibrational technicians. In temples like Karnak and Luxor, they orchestrated frequencies through sound, structure, and intention. Walls and columns weren't merely decorative, they were acoustic mirrors, amplifying certain tones that resonated with the energy centers of the human body. Hieroglyphs found in hidden chambers speak of tones that could move objects, lift stones, and open gateways. To mainstream historians, this is myth. To those who've studied the mysteries, it is science long obscured. In the same spirit, the ancient Sumerians, those who laid the foundations of Mesopotamian civilization, spoke of sacred tones used to summon the divine. Their cuneiform tablets contain references to vibrational rituals used for healing, prophecy, and communion with celestial beings. They didn't merely worship, they harmonized. The priests of Babylon employed chants that could shift awareness, recalibrate emotions, and bring the unseen into presence. These weren't isolated cultures. Across the ocean, the Vedic sages of ancient India described the universe as Nada Brahma. The world is sound. Sanskrit, the sacred language of their scriptures, was not designed for convenience. It was engineered to reflect the vibrational structure of the body and cosmos. Each syllable, when pronounced correctly, acts like a tuning fork, activating dormant centers of perception. To this day, the chant Om is believed to realign the speaker with the original frequency of creation. This is not metaphor. This is energetic fact, but something happened. These threads of sacred sound began to unravel. Knowledge was lost not through decay, but through destruction. Consider the fate of 432 Hertz, the tuning used across ancient cultures, resonant with the Schumann frequency of the earth and the golden ratio of life. This frequency was used in sacred music, temples, and even the instruments of the great composers. It's said that Mozart and Verdi preferred it instinctively, composing works that brought listeners into states of peace, reflection, and harmony. Then came the shift. In 1939, under the pressure of politically motivated institutions, a global standard was enforced: 440 Hertz. To the untrained ear, the difference seems negligible, just 8 vibrations per second. But subtle shifts in vibration cause profound shifts in perception. 440 Hertz creates mild dissonance with the body's natural rhythms. It agitates. It dulls intuition. It disconnects. Many believe this wasn't coincidental. A population vibrating in discord is easier to control, to distract, to separate from its inner knowing. And this shift wasn't confined to music. Language itself was altered. In the ancient world, words were sacred. To name something was to know its essence. The Egyptians believed that to speak the true name of a god was to invoke its power. The Hebrew mystics taught that divine letters formed the fabric of creation. The Sufi mystics chanted the names of God not to recite, but to vibrate into divine resonance. Today, words have been emptied. Language is fast, fragmented, filled with emotionless efficiency. The deeper vibrations have been stripped away, leaving syllables that carry no resonance. No wonder we feel disconnected. We are speaking without sound. Even buildings once built for resonance have lost their voice. Gothic cathedrals with their soaring arches and echoing halls were not just places of worship. They were vibrational instruments. Gregorian chants, sung in specific frequencies, would reverberate through the stone, lifting the soul beyond mundane thought. But those chants were changed. Tonal purity was lost. The designs were altered. The buildings stand, but the resonance has been silenced. Ask yourself, why would sacred sound be removed? Because when people vibrate with truth, they become sovereign. When they resonate with their essence, they cannot be controlled. They become attuned to something greater than systems, borders, or fear. They become awake. Even in modern science, echoes of this ancient wisdom are returning. Quantum physicists now describe matter not as solid, but as probability fields vibrating in potential. Cymatics shows how sound arranges matter into precise, symmetrical patterns. Bioacoustics suggests that each organ has its own frequency, and when it falls out of harmony, disease results. Healing, then, becomes a matter of restoring the song of the body. What the ancients knew by experience, we are rediscovering in the lab. Still, for all our technology, we remain a culture out of tune. We walk through noisy cities filled with jarring sirens, digital alerts, and dissonant background frequencies. The sounds we consume are designed for attention, not alignment. They stimulate the brain, but starve the soul. Yet the wisdom survives. In the mountains of Tibet, monks still chant frequencies older than language. In the rainforests of the Amazon, shamans still sing icaros that guide the soul through unseen realms. In the shadows of forgotten temples, vibrations still echo if you listen closely enough. And more importantly, the wisdom survives in you. Your body remembers. Your cells vibrate. Your intuition stirs when it hears tones that feel like home. You are a tuning instrument, waiting to be played in harmony again. You are not just affected by vibration, you are vibration. So ask yourself, what frequencies are you allowing into your life? What sounds are shaping your inner world? And what would happen if you began to reclaim the sacred sound? Because we are not just passive receivers, we are conductors. And the orchestra of the cosmos is waiting for you to join, not as a spectator, but as a composer. Next, we dive into how these vibrations were inverted, how the very tools that could uplift the soul were instead used to bind it. We will enter the shadow of sound, where frequencies became weapons and resonance became repression. But fear not, for to see clearly is to awaken, and to awaken is to begin the return. There is a dark side to sound, a shadow cast not by the tones themselves, but by those who understood their power and chose to wield it not to heal, but to control. As the ancients tuned themselves to divine harmonics, so too did those in positions of dominance tune entire societies to dissonance. What began as sacred frequency became manipulated vibration, and humanity, unaware, began to march to a rhythm not their own. To control sound is to control perception. To shape frequency is to shape reality. And the most effective form of domination is the one people never notice, because it's encoded into the air around them. It begins subtly, a shift in musical standards, a slight change in tuning, an upgrade in technology that fills the home with artificial frequencies. Soon, everything hums, but not with harmony. This is the frequency trap. Take 440 Hz, the globally enforced standard for tuning music. It replaced 432 Hz, a tone aligned with the rhythms of the earth, the golden ratio, and the natural patterns of life. The change was small, just 8 cycles per second, but subtle shifts in frequency produce enormous changes in resonance. The 440 Hz doesn't destroy, it disturbs. It creates low-grade tension, unease, misalignment. Music no longer soothes, it agitates. And yet, we accept it, because we have been conditioned to forget how we feel when we are in tune. Why was this shift made? In 1939, powerful institutions, including the Nazi regime, pushed for the adoption of 440 Hz. Despite resistance from musicians and researchers, it became the global norm. It was not based on science. It was not based on harmony. It was based on influence. The result? A world subtly retuned away from its natural state. But the manipulation didn't stop with music. It went deeper, into language, architecture, technology, and media. Consider the rise of chaotic soundscapes. The modern city is not simply loud. It is vibrationally incoherent. Alarms, sirens, horns, and machine hums are not just unpleasant. They are frequencies that induce stress responses. The body, bathed in dissonance, lives in a constant state of low-level anxiety. News cycles repeat emotionally charged headlines, using rhythm and tone to drive fear deeper into the nervous system. Advertisements layer catchy jingles over subliminal frequencies. Social media notifications trigger dopamine bursts in patterns that mimic slot machines. This is not random. It is engineered. The mind, entrained by rhythmic patterns, becomes more suggestible. Words and images become tools of entrainment. Over time, people lose the ability to distinguish internal resonance from external programming. The result? A population easily swayed, emotionally reactive, and spiritually disconnected. Even speech has changed. Language once carried vibrational intention. Sacred syllables were aligned with the geometry of the universe. To speak was to manifest. To chant was to realign. But today, speech is rushed, fragmented, filled with filler and distraction. We speak without resonance. We hear without listening. We vibrate without awareness. And into this void, manipulation seeps. Drums have long been used in warfare, not just to coordinate troops, but to control mental states. Rhythmic drumming alters brainwaves, pushing soldiers into aggression or obedience. The Nazis understood this well. Their propaganda was built on the principles of repetition, rhythm, and sonic suggestion. Speeches were choreographed like music. Marching songs synchronized bodies and minds. The same techniques are used today. Listen to political speeches. Hear the cadence. Feel the emphasis. Observe how slogans are repeated until they bypass reason and become internalized. It is not what is said. It is how it is said. Frequency, not fact, shapes belief. Popular music follows a similar path. Fast beats, repetitive lyrics, artificial tuning. It does not elevate, it traps. The industry manufactures sound not for resonance, but for reaction. It floods the air with emotionally charged frequencies that activate but do not harmonize. Why? Because a society saturated in disharmony cannot reflect. It cannot rest. It cannot awaken. And yet, beneath all this noise, a deeper truth remains. You are not powerless in this storm of sound. You are not doomed to resonate with distortion. Awareness is the first act of liberation. The moment you recognize the frequencies that surround you, you begin to retune. Ask yourself, what sounds are you consuming? What music do you let into your body? What words do you speak without thinking? What rhythms are you allowing to condition your nervous system? Begin there. Choose music tuned to 432 Hz or 528 Hz. Speak slowly, with intention. Create silence in your home. Meditate with breath. Replace discord with harmony. Over time, your body will remember. Your cells will respond. Your mind will clear. Because the original resonance has not been destroyed. It has only been buried beneath layers of noise, distortion, and distraction. But it can be uncovered. And when it is, you will hear the difference. You will feel the clarity. You will remember what it means to be in tune. Some say this is all superstition, but science now tells us otherwise. The field of cymatics shows that sound shapes matter. The study of bioacoustics reveals that each organ in the body has a resonant frequency. Dis-ease, quite literally, is dissonance. Healing is not the suppression of symptoms. It is the restoration of song. So who benefits from a world that is out of tune? Those who fear a population that is aligned, because people who resonate with their essence are not easily swayed. They are not moved by fear. They are immune to control. They speak with clarity. They move with purpose. They become sovereign. This is the great secret. Not all sound is benign. Some is meant to heal. Some is meant to harm. And those who understand this divide the world not by politics or religion, but by vibration. And now, so do you. Next, we will begin to reassemble the fragments. The sacred tones that once elevated civilizations still exist, hidden in chants, rituals, and ancient instruments. They have not been lost. They have been waiting. Waiting for someone who remembers how to listen. In the faint recesses of memory, there are tones that still hum softly. Frequencies that once coursed through temples, through forests, through breath and bone. They are not gone. They are not myth. They are waiting. Frequencies of healing, balance, and elevation, buried beneath centuries of distortion. To remember them is to remember a part of yourself that has always known. Sound is medicine. Sound is memory. Sound is power. Long before hospitals and pharmaceuticals, humans healed with vibration. They sat in sacred circles. They sang into the body. They struck drums in rhythmic precision. They chanted syllables whose meaning transcended translation. These weren't traditions. They were technologies. The ancients knew that sound could realign not just the physical body, but the spirit within it. They understood that when the energy centers, what many call chakras, fell out of tune, dis-ease would manifest. The solution was not to suppress symptoms, but to recalibrate the inner orchestra. Among the most profound of these tools were the solfeggio frequencies. You may have heard of them. 396 Hz for liberating fear, 417 Hz for dissolving trauma, 528 Hz for DNA repair, 639 Hz for harmonizing relationships, and beyond. These frequencies were embedded in Gregorian chants, woven into ancient hymns, and passed down in secret. Each tone corresponded to a sacred vibration, one that could unlock healing not through belief, but through physics. Of them, 528 Hz is perhaps the most revered. Known by some as the love frequency or the miracle tone, it is said to resonate with the very fabric of DNA. When played, this tone has been shown to restore cellular coherence, reduce inflammation, and induce deep peace. It's not only restorative, it is creative. It brings things into form. Why then is this frequency missing from modern music? Because the industrialization of sound stripped music of its soul. In shifting the global tuning standard to 440 Hz, we didn't just retune instruments, we retuned humanity. The music that once aligned our bodies with Earth's rhythm now jars us ever so slightly out of sync. Over time, that dissonance compounds. leading to emotional fatigue, stress, and disconnection. And worse, the sacred tones that once defined healing rituals have been systematically erased. Take the fate of indigenous drumming traditions. In colonized nations across the world, drumming was outlawed, not because it was noise, but because it worked. It opened portals. It induced trance. It activated the pineal gland. For colonizers seeking control, these practices were too powerful, too sovereign, too free. The same can be said of the Sufi chants, the harmonic mantras of Tibetan monks, and the vibrational ceremonies of the Mayan and African elders. Everywhere sacred sound emerged, it was eventually silenced, burned, banned, or buried beneath doctrine. This was not coincidental, because when people connect to these frequencies, they change. They become lucid, calm, embodied, aligned. And alignment is dangerous to those who profit from confusion. But the tones are returning through a growing resurgence in sound healing, vibrational therapies, and spiritual music. The lost frequencies are once again finding ears that remember. They appear in sound baths, in tuning fork sessions, in singing bowl ceremonies. They emerge in the experiments of scientists, the compositions of conscious musicians, and even in whispered chants in the forests and caves. The body recognizes these tones instantly. They bypass logic and awaken sensation. Tears may come without reason. Images may surface. A weight may lift. This is not placebo. It is resonance restoring memory. It is the soul realigning with its original key. Even modern research is beginning to catch up. Studies now show that specific frequencies influence brainwave activity, lower cortisol levels, increase immune response, and even repair DNA strands under stress. The science is catching up to what the shamans always knew. Vibration shapes biology. So how do we begin to integrate this wisdom again? It starts with conscious listening. Seek music tuned to 432 Hz or 528 Hz. Sit with it, not in the background, but in full presence. Allow it to wash over you. Feel its effect not only in the ears, but in the chest, the gut, the spine. Notice what it shifts. Explore vocal toning. Humming is one of the simplest forms of vibrational alignment. Chant syllables like OM, AH, or HU, each known to activate different aspects of the energy body. You don't need to believe. You only need to allow. Use instruments that create resonance. Tibetan singing bowls, crystal bowls, tuning forks. All of these interact directly with the water and tissue of the body. The human system doesn't need instruction. It simply needs the correct vibration. But beyond these tools, the most powerful frequency of all is intention. Sacred sound becomes truly transformational when paired with conscious focus. It's not only the tone, it's the field in which it is offered. You are not a passive listener. You are an amplifier. Speak with awareness. Sing with feeling. Listen with presence. And as you begin to surround yourself with healing frequencies, something astonishing happens. Your baseline vibration begins to rise. Thoughts become clearer. Emotions settle. The nervous system relaxes. You become magnetic. Not because you've added anything, but because you've removed the distortion. This is what the ancients meant by purification. Not through abstinence or punishment, but through harmony. When your field is clean, coherent, and attuned, your life reorganizes. You attract people and experiences that resonate with your new tone. You become a beacon, a tuning fork for others. You don't preach, you radiate. The world around you begins to reflect your internal harmony. Because reality does not respond to force. It responds to frequency. This is the quiet revolution. A return to the original tones. A remembering that healing was never in a bottle, but in a breath, in a note. in a sacred silence followed by a sacred sound. And so we continue. Ahead, we will dive deeper into how emotion itself is frequency. How fear, rage, grief, and love each carry a distinct tone. You will see how to transmute these energies, not by resisting them, but by tuning them. By singing your way through the storm and into coherence. What if your emotions weren't just fleeting inner experiences, but distinct vibrational signals, resonating outward into the very structure of reality? What if grief had a frequency, just as joy did? What if fear was a low, dense hum, and love a high, luminous tone that could ripple across dimensions? This is not poetic metaphor. It is the architecture of existence. Every feeling is a frequency. Your emotional state is not confined within your mind. It is broadcast into your field, your aura, your bioelectric signature. This energetic field then interacts with the larger vibrational fabric of the universe. It magnetizes experience. It shapes perception. It bends time. It's why some people walk into a room and the atmosphere changes. They don't say a word, but their frequency speaks first. Low-frequency emotions like shame, guilt, and fear vibrate at slow, heavy rates. They drag the body down, literally. Studies show that people experiencing these states have lowered immune function, increased inflammation, and higher rates of illness. These are not just psychological conditions. They are vibrational imprints distorting the energetic blueprint of the body. Meanwhile, higher frequency emotions like love, gratitude, and awe have the opposite effect. They increase heart coherence, expand perception, regulate hormones, and even restructure DNA. They are healing not because of what they mean, but because of how they resonate. The ancient world understood this well. In the temples of Egypt, rituals weren't merely ceremonial. They were emotional orchestration. The initiate would be guided through catharsis, grief, fear, surrender, and finally, union. Each emotional state had a tone, a frequency, a role in the alchemical symphony of awakening. In Tibetan Buddhism, compassion is more than a moral imperative. It's a vibrational gateway. The chant Om Mani Padme Hum is not just devotional. It attunes the soul to a frequency of liberation through love. In the Amazonian rainforest, shamans don't fight illness, they sing to it. The Icaros, sacred healing songs, are aimed not at the disease, but at the energetic imbalance that gave rise to it. They don't see cancer, for instance, as a tumor. They see it as a dissonant frequency, and the song is a tuning fork to bring the field back to harmony. Even modern science is catching up. Research by Dr. David Hawkins mapped a scale of consciousness where emotions are measured in vibrational units. Shame vibrates around 20 hertz, guilt 30 hertz, fear 100 hertz in love, 500 hertz and above, enlightenment off the measurable scale. What's astonishing is that one person holding a consistently high frequency can entrain and uplift the energy field of thousands around them. This isn't New Age idealism, it's physics. You've felt this before, the comfort of someone who says nothing, yet their presence alone calms you. The impact of someone who radiates such joy that you smile just being near them. The tension that spreads like wildfire from one person's unspoken anxiety. All of it is frequency transmission. All of it is vibration. But here's the catch. Most people live in emotional reaction, not resonance. They are tuned by the outside world instead of being the tuner. They respond to news cycles, arguments, digital alerts, and external chaos. Their frequency is not theirs. It is hijacked. The key to vibrational mastery is emotional sovereignty. It begins by noticing what emotions dominate your internal soundscape. Are you humming anxiety daily? Are you broadcasting frustration even in silence? Are your words lined with sarcasm, fear, or need? And more importantly, do you know how to retune? Emotions are not to be suppressed. They are to be heard, felt fully, sung through. A note that is ignored becomes dissonant. A note that is acknowledged can be tuned. One powerful method, vocal alchemy. Speak your emotions aloud, not as complaint, but as sound. Moan your grief, hum your fear, whisper your longing. Let the vibration move through the throat, the heart, the gut. Do this in private if needed, but do it. Because emotion trapped in the body becomes distortion. Emotion expressed in frequency becomes transformation. Another tool, breath. Breath is the bridge between vibration and matter. When you're afraid, breath shallows. When you're joyful, breath deepens. So reverse engineer your state. Breathe as if you are already calm, already loved, already safe. Let the breath change the tone, and then gratitude. Gratitude is a master frequency. It does not deny pain, but it raises the entire field. It's like tuning all the strings of your internal instrument to a higher octave. Start simple. One thing, one breath, one word. I thank you, not because everything is perfect, but because thankfulness is a frequency of alignment. Your emotions are not liabilities, they are instruments. Learn to play them. When you're sad, it's not a failure, it's a lower key. It can be a bass note in a beautiful composition. When you're angry, it's not destructive unless it's discordant. Channel it. Strike the drum with purpose, not chaos. The most dangerous emotional state is not rage, it is numbness. Because numbness is the absence of vibration. It is when the instrument lies untouched. Dust gathers. Silence becomes static. And you forget you were ever a musician. So feel as a sacred act. Feel as a tuning process. And know this, every time you raise your vibration, even by one small choice, you shift the field around you. Every word of kindness ripples. Every sigh of release expands. Every act of love transforms not only your body, but your timeline. Emotion, vibration, manifestation, they are the same stream. And the future you call to yourself will always match the music you are emitting now. So as we move forward, we journey into the terrain of consciousness itself. We will explore how the mind is not simply a processor of thought, but a transmitter of frequency. How belief, perception, and mental focus determine the waveform you live inside. You are not just what you feel, you are what you emit. Thoughts are not silent. Though they whisper inside your mind, they echo far beyond your skull. Every idea, every belief, every passing notion carries with it a distinct frequency, broadcasting into your field like an invisible transmission tower. And just like a radio, you receive only what you're tuned to. Consciousness is not static. It is not contained within the folds of your brain. It is not limited to neurons firing in darkness. It is vibration, pure and alive, operating across dimensions. And you are its conductor. For too long, we've misunderstood thought as a private act. But there is no such thing as a private vibration. Every thought alters your electromagnetic field, your heart rhythm, your hormonal balance. Over time, these shifts accumulate, carving into your biology, your emotions, and your external world. You do not think in isolation. You resonate, and that resonance attracts. It attracts people who mirror your unspoken beliefs. It attracts events that reflect your internal state. It even attracts the very problems you think you're trying to avoid. Because attention itself is frequency, and the universe does not speak English. It speaks vibration. This is why cycles repeat. Not because you're cursed or broken, but because the mind, once tuned to a certain belief, continues to broadcast it. And the universe, ever faithful, echoes it back. This is not punishment. This is law. Ancient cultures knew this. The sages of India taught that manas, the mind, is both a tool and a trap. That which is untrained becomes a loop. That which is disciplined becomes a portal. In esoteric traditions, thought is not mental chatter. It is magic, a spell. A frequency spell that shapes not just your perception, but the field around you. So what are you thinking? Not rhetorically, truly. What tones do your thoughts emit daily? Are they saturated in fear, anxiety, judgment? Are they filled with doubt, or laced with quiet expectation, reverence, possibility? You may not realize how much of your inner monologue is a repetition, not of your truth, but of programs inherited unconsciously. Thoughts absorbed from childhood, from trauma, from societal narratives, from media, religion, culture. Like old music loops, they replay beneath awareness, shaping your frequency while you believe you're just thinking. This is the great trap of unconscious mind. But there is a way out. It begins with recognition, the act of becoming the witness, watching your thoughts like notes on a staff, hearing them as tones, not just concepts. When a thought arises, pause. What does it feel like in the body? Heavy, tight, expansive, musical? Does it pull you inward or lift you outward? Does it spiral or flow? You'll begin to notice patterns. Some thoughts come with a low, grinding hum. They carry worry. You feel them in the gut, in the jaw, in the racing pulse. These are survival frequencies, necessary once perhaps, but corrosive when chronic. Other thoughts are lighter. They shimmer. They vibrate in the chest, the crown, the fingertips. They come not from anxiety, but from alignment. Often they arrive in stillness, as whispers, as knowing, as intuition. Learn to distinguish. You don't need to argue with every thought. You only need to notice its tone. The mind is not the enemy. It's an instrument. And when you take the bow in hand and begin to tune it, you discover its beauty. Meditation is one such tuning, not to escape thought, but to soften the static, to create enough space to hear what lies beneath the noise. With practice, you begin to see thoughts not as self, but as sound, passing, vibrating, releasing. Another tool is mantra. Mantra is not repetition for repetition's sake. It is vibrational entrainment. When spoken with intention, a mantra can override the dissonant loops of unconscious mind. It doesn't matter whether you understand the ancient syllables. What matters is the tone they carry. Om, Soham, Sat Nam, Shreem. These are not words. They are frequencies. Even a phrase like, I am here, I am whole, can become a tuning fork when spoken with presence. Journaling is another method of sonic excavation. As you write your thoughts, they slow. Their vibrations become visible. Patterns emerge. You begin to hear yourself. And in this hearing, a subtle miracle occurs. Your mind becomes your ally. You start to choose your focus, not to bypass pain, but to attune to solutions. You begin to release thoughts that are not yours. You discover that clarity is not a destination. It is your natural state beneath the mental noise. And from that clarity, new resonance arises. You begin to broadcast differently. This is the true nature of manifestation. It is not about effort. It is about alignment. You attract not what you want, but what you are vibrationally tuned to. And the mind, when trained, is the dial. So why is this knowledge not taught? Because a population that understands the vibrational nature of thought becomes sovereign. They no longer consume thought patterns blindly. They no longer outsource truth. They become creators. In this, there is danger for those who profit from mental noise. Social media, for instance, is a battleground of frequency. Every scroll is a tug on your resonance. Every image, every headline, every comment, each carries a charge. Attention is currency. But more than that, it is energy. What you focus on, you become. So guard your mental field. Be ruthless with what you let in, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Your mind is not a trash can. It is a temple, and its tone determines your timeline. You are not your thoughts, but you are the resonance they create. So begin each day not by checking the news, but by tuning your field. Speak a mantra. Breathe deeply. Recall a moment of joy. Let the tone rise within you, and hold it, not as a task, but as a song. You don't need to control every thought. You only need to lead the melody. The rest will follow. As we continue, we move now from the mind to the unseen language of sound itself, to the realm where vibration shapes matter, memory, and perception without a single word. We enter the hidden language of resonance and begin to speak not with the tongue, but with the soul. Sound is not limited to what you hear. It is what you feel. It is what you absorb. It is the invisible handshake between your inner world and the world around you. Long before structured language ever formed, there was another mode of communication: vibration. This was not symbolic, it was literal. Early humans didn't need vocabulary to understand intent. A low growl warned of danger. A gentle hum soothed a child. A rhythmic chant brought community into shared breath, shared pulse, shared emotion. This was the language beneath language, the original tongue of tone, tempo, and transmission. Today, most have forgotten it, but it hasn't forgotten you. Even now, it operates beneath your awareness. You feel it when someone speaks with calm presence, even if you don't understand the words. You recoil when a sentence is delivered in anger, regardless of content. You feel trust or distrust, not from logic, but from tone. Sound bypasses the conscious mind. It travels directly to the subconscious, to the body, to the energy field. It carries encoded meaning, far beyond semantics, and it never lies. This is why your dog knows when you're upset even if you smile. Why a baby responds to music long before it understands language. Why you remember the way someone said something more than what they actually said. The voice carries the emotion. The frequency reveals the truth. The universe is vibrationally encoded, not alphabetically. Ancient languages knew this: Sanskrit, Hebrew, Arabic. These were not just phonetic systems, but vibrational maps. Each letter had a frequency, each word a harmonic function. Reciting these syllables wasn't mere communication, it was invocation. When spoken properly, they activated dormant centers in the body and opened gateways in the field. In the East, mantras were used not as prayers, but as precision instruments. The syllable Om was considered the seed sound of creation. It wasn't said, it was intoned until it vibrated in the skull, chest, and gut all at once. This wasn't religion, it was resonance. In the Middle East, the Sufis developed zikr, the remembrance of the divine through repetitive chanting. These weren't monotonous repetitions. They were vibrational portals. The goal was to lose the separate self in the spiraling rhythm of sacred sound. Even in Christianity, this hidden language survived. The Latin Mass, the Gregorian chants, the emphasis on singing psalms, they were not arbitrary. These tones carried transmission. They shaped emotional states. They aligned hearts. But language evolved. And with evolution came distortion. As dialects fractured and commercialized, the original harmonic structure of speech was lost. Modern language, for all its complexity, has become flat, stripped of tonal nuance, sacred syllables, and conscious cadence. We talk quickly. We speak without breath. We type instead of speak. We emoji instead of vocalize. And we wonder why we feel unseen, unheard, disconnected. The answer is simple. We've stopped vibrating truthfully. Even in digital media, the frequency persists. Advertisers know this. Politicians know this. The right tone can instill urgency, dread, desire, even obedience. Most messages today are not persuasive because of content, but because of tone manipulation. Frequency is the delivery mechanism. Emotion is the carrier wave. And yet, we can return to the original language. Start by noticing, when someone speaks, listen beyond the words. Tune into their rhythm, their breath, their pauses. Do they speak from the chest, the throat, the gut? What do you feel as they speak? Is your body expanding or contracting? More importantly, observe yourself. When you speak, what are you transmitting? Not just intention, but frequency. Do your words carry anxiety or presence? Do they harmonize or conflict with your energy? The human voice is a sacred instrument. It is the only one built from breath itself. When you speak, you shape air into sound, and sound into structure. This is the essence of vibrational communication. Sound carries command. The phrase, "Let there be light," was not poetic. It was instructional. It was a frequency that aligned matter into form. You do the same every day. Your thoughts form energy. Your words release it. Your tone directs it. You are a vibrational architect, so speak with intention. Try vocal toning, not as performance, but as practice. Sit in silence. Inhale deeply. Then hum or tone a simple vowel, like ah or ooh. Let it resonate in your chest. Let it rise into your skull. Don't force it. Feel it. Do this for 5 minutes. Observe the shift. Your nervous system will recalibrate. Your mind will soften. Your emotions will harmonize. This is not imagination. This is resonance in action. Use this in daily life. Before entering a tense conversation, tone to center yourself. Before a creative task, hum to clear your field. Before sleep, chant softly to settle your frequency. These aren't rituals of belief. They are mechanisms of recalibration. Even silence has a tone. Pause between words. Let your breath guide your pacing. Create space. In that space, you allow your frequency to be felt, not just heard. This is how the mystics spoke. Not with speed, but with presence. You don't need to be a singer. You only need to remember that your voice is medicine. Try replacing common phrases with vibrational upgrades. Instead of "I'm sorry," try "Thank you for your patience." Instead of "I'm so busy," try "I'm in sacred motion." Instead of "I don't know," try "I'm open to discovery." Each phrase you repeat becomes a mantra. Make it vibrationally nourishing. And when you don't have words, use sound. Sing, hum, whistle, drum your fingers, clap your hands, tap rhythms. Let the language of vibration flow through your body. It will guide you back to the natural rhythm you've always known. And here is the most profound truth. When enough people return to vibrational communication, the world shifts. Conversations deepen. Conflict reduces. Authenticity rises. Because we are no longer speaking to masks. We are vibrating from essence. The lost language of sound was never truly lost. It is written in your bones, your breath, your blood. And every time you speak with intention, you reclaim it. In the next movement of our journey, we explore the deeper layers of this principle, the role of the soul's resonance. We ask not just how you speak, but how your being vibrates. Because beneath words, beneath sound, beneath even thought, there is your unique frequency, and it is shaping everything. Beneath all words, beneath all thoughts, beneath even your most profound emotions, there hums something more subtle, more constant. It is not what you say, nor what you feel in any single moment. It is what you are. It is your baseline resonance, your soul's signature frequency. This frequency is not something you choose. It's something you remember. It existed before you had a name, before the world shaped your personality. It is not bound to your job, your relationships, or your history. It is a note, unique, ancient, eternal. And whether you are aware of it or not, you are constantly broadcasting this frequency into the universe. It is how the soul speaks, not in language, but in light, not in thought, but in tone. Imagine your life as a great symphony. Every person you meet, every situation you encounter, every outcome that unfolds, each is drawn to the tone you are emitting. This is why some people experience the same patterns over and over. They are not cursed. They are simply resonating with a frequency that attracts specific experiences. And until the frequency changes, the composition remains the same. The soul's frequency does not lie. It is your truest form of communication. Even when you say the right thing, wear the right clothes, or project the right image, your baseline vibration tells the truth. It is why some people feel trustworthy without explanation, why others repel you no matter how charming their words. Their resonance speaks louder, and so does yours. But here is the great paradox. Your soul's frequency is fixed in essence, yet flexible in expression. Like a root note in a melody, it remains constant even as the chords around it change. You can amplify it, refine it, dim it, distort it, but it never disappears. Trauma, fear, and conditioning can bury it beneath layers of noise. But those layers are not you. They are static, filters, interference. Your real tone is still playing, waiting to be remembered. So how do you find it again? Stillness. Not the absence of sound, but the quieting of interference. In stillness, the static falls away, and something deeper begins to rise. A hum in the chest, a warmth in the spine, a gentle knowing that needs no proof. You are tuning in. This is why meditation, breathwork, and solitude are essential, not for escape, but for remembering. They are acts of realignment. The more you clear, the more your natural resonance begins to ring through. You begin to feel what is off, not morally, but vibrationally. A relationship may appear healthy, but something feels dense in your field. A job may seem logical, but your energy contracts each time you walk through the door. A dream you've chased for years might suddenly feel dissonant, and you realize it was never yours. It was a borrowed desire, vibrating at someone else's frequency. As you realign with your essence, life reorganizes. What no longer matches your resonance will fall away. This may feel like loss, but it is tuning. A dissonant string being released to let the melody rise. And what enters your field will feel different. It won't just make sense, it will hum. People will arrive and feel familiar, as if they've known your song all along. Opportunities will align not just with your goals, but with your soul. Synchronicities will increase, not because magic has arrived, but because distortion has left. You are in resonance. From this place, manifestation becomes effortless. Not because you've mastered the law of attraction, but because you're no longer attracting from the mind, but from your core tone. You are no longer projecting desire. You are radiating truth. And the universe responds to authenticity. This is the shift from effort to alignment, from force to frequency. You stop trying to make things happen. Instead, you become the tone that invites them. You stop convincing. You start transmitting. The most powerful beings don't shout, they resonate. Their presence is felt before they speak. Their silence speaks louder than words. Why? Because they are coherent. They have cleared the static. They vibrate from essence. You can too, but it requires devotion. Not to an external practice, but to inner tuning, to listening, to refining, to releasing what is not yours, to loving what is. And it also requires discernment. Not all frequencies that feel good are aligned. Some are addictive. Some are amplified versions of your wounds. Drama can feel intense, but it's dissonant. Attention can feel affirming, but it may feed distortion. Be honest about what actually nourishes your field. Ask yourself often, what does this person amplify in me? What tone does this place evoke? Does this thought leave me brighter or heavier? Is this path in harmony with my soul, or just my fear? The answers will not always be immediate, but the body knows, the field knows, your resonance knows, and here is the beauty. The more you return to your tone, the more you give others permission to do the same. Resonance is contagious. One aligned being can lift an entire room. One voice in tune can harmonize a crowd. One soul remembering itself can change the world, because we are all instruments in a grand orchestra of consciousness. And every time you play your true note, the collective score shifts. You don't need to fix the world. You need to resonate. Let others hear the song of someone who has remembered. And as we go forward, we step into the realm where resonance shapes not only your body and mind, but the matter around you. We explore the mysterious science of cymatics and the ancient understanding that vibration creates form, that the invisible tones you emit are constantly sculpting the visible world you inhabit. There are patterns all around you, geometric, intricate, precise. The veins of a leaf, the spirals of a shell, the lattice of snowflakes, the dance of galaxies. They are not random. They are music, made visible. They are the fingerprints of vibration in form. This ancient truth has a name, cymatics. Cymatics is the science of how sound creates shape. It shows with stunning clarity that when vibration meets matter, form appears. Sprinkle sand on a vibrating metal plate and watch it organize into complex mandalas. Change the frequency and the pattern changes. Higher frequencies produce more elaborate structures. The implications are staggering. Everything you see is the result of sound, though you may not hear it. The atoms of your body are held in position not by solidity, but by frequency. The organs in your body function as resonators. Your bones carry sound more efficiently than air. Your skin responds to vibration before it registers touch. You are made of cymatics. Your life is too. The patterns in your relationships, your finances, your health, and your emotional cycles. These are not just psychological constructs. They are vibrational formations. And just as changing a tone alters the pattern in sand, changing your core vibration alters the shape of your life. But this is not abstract. Let's return to the lab. Dr. Hans Jenny, a Swiss physician in the 1960s, pioneered the modern study of cymatics. Using precise frequencies on materials like water, sand, and oil, he showed how each tone created a distinct, repeatable structure. Low frequencies produced simple, stable forms. As the frequency rose, complexity increased, until suddenly, at key thresholds, the structure would collapse. only to reform into a more intricate pattern. This moment of collapse was not failure. It was transformation. It mirrored what mystics and initiates have always said. Evolution requires dissonance. The breakdown is a tuning moment, the chaos before the clarity. Your life reflects this. How many times have things fallen apart, only to reassemble at a higher octave? How often does spiritual growth come disguised as confusion, illness, or endings? These are cymatic shifts. You are not breaking, you are repatterning. When your vibration rises, whether through healing, intention, or awakening, the old structures that matched your previous frequency must dissolve. They are not meant to come with you. Letting go is not a loss. It is space-making for the new pattern. Cymatics shows that this is not just metaphor, it is law. And this law exists not just in science, but in ancient temples. The Great Pyramid of Giza was not just a tomb, it was a resonant chamber. Its measurements encode musical ratios. Its inner chambers amplify and channel sound. The King's Chamber, when activated with harmonic frequencies, vibrates in ways that alter brainwaves and consciousness. This was not decoration, it was vibration in architecture. Similarly, the cathedrals of Europe were built to sing. Their vaulted ceilings and domed sanctuaries created acoustics that elevated the human spirit. When Gregorian chants echoed through these spaces, they created standing waves of resonance that opened the heart, calmed the mind, and tuned the soul. These weren't just buildings, they were instruments. So too are you. Your home, your body, your life. They are all vibrational spaces. The question is, what tone are you filling them with? Look at your surroundings. Are they chaotic, rushed, discordant? Or do they feel harmonious, intentional, tuned? What music do you play? What voices do you let in? What words do you repeat? All of it shapes your field. All of it sculpts your cymatic pattern. Even water responds. Japanese researcher Dr. Masaru Emoto showed that when water is exposed to loving words or harmonious music, it forms stunning crystalline structures. When exposed to hate, chaos, or distortion, the crystals collapse into formless blobs. Your body is over 70% water. What you speak to yourself, what you hear, what you believe, is being recorded in structure, every moment. You are not simply reacting to life. You are shaping it, cell by cell, tone by tone. This is not about perfection. It's about awareness. You can begin right now. Start small. Light a candle and play a pure tone. Speak to your cells with gratitude. Fill your space with sound that lifts, not drains. Replace background noise with conscious music. Replace harsh voices with silence. Replace criticism with humming. Notice the shift. The air feels clearer. Your chest expands. Synchronicity increases. People respond differently, not because you've changed what you do, but what you emit. This is vibrational hygiene, and it is sacred. You shower your body, but do you cleanse your field? You tidy your space, but do you harmonize your energy? Cymatics teaches us that form follows frequency, and when your frequency is discordant, no amount of surface change will hold. You must tune. And when you do, watch what reforms. Patterns in your finances begin to evolve. Conversations deepen, sleep improves, ideas flow, intuition sharpens, healing accelerates. Not through effort, but through alignment. You are returning to coherence. Because here is the deeper mystery. The universe itself is a giant cymatic field. The background radiation of space, the hum of creation, is not silence. It is music. Scientists have recorded it. It is real. The planets sing. The stars resonate. The entire cosmos is sound in motion. You are not separate from this song. You are one of its notes. And every time you come back into resonance, you rejoin the orchestra. You remember your place in the cosmic pattern, not above it, not beneath it, but within it. You are harmony in human form, and as we continue, we open the next door into the mysterious ways that this resonance affects not only structure, but states of being. We dive into altered consciousness, dream realms, astral journeys, and the vibrational bridges between this world and the unseen. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Can you feel it? The subtle shift that happens when silence stretches longer than expected. That moment just before sleep, or just after waking, when reality feels thinner, when something unseen brushes the edge of awareness. That too is vibration. You stand not at the edge of the physical, but at the threshold of many worlds. Across cultures and centuries, seers, mystics, and dreamers have spoken of other realms, astral planes, spirit dimensions, dreamscapes, places both wondrous and wild, invisible to the physical eye, but fully felt by the soul. These are not myths. They are vibrational territories. And the key that opens them? Frequency. You cannot brute force your way into the subtle world. You cannot see the invisible with effort. You must match its resonance. Like tuning into a radio station, these realms become clear only when your vibration aligns with theirs. Altered states of consciousness are not escapes. They are gateways. When the brain shifts from beta waves, alert, analytical, into alpha, calm focus, theta, deep meditation, dreams, or delta, sleep, transcendence, the field changes. Your frequency loosens from the density of the body. Perception expands. You begin to drift, not out of yourself, but deeper into your field. This is the vibrational path to the non-physical realms. Lucid dreaming is one such realm, a dimension where thought becomes architecture and emotion sculpts scenery. When your frequency is stable within a lucid dream, you begin to interact with higher intelligences, forgotten aspects of yourself, or parallel versions of your soul. The dream body is not imaginary. It is an energetic template. Then comes astral travel. In this state, you are still tethered to the body, yet your awareness is mobile. You may experience flying, observing the physical world from above, visiting unfamiliar landscapes, or encountering guides. Again, the secret is not force, it is resonance. Fear lowers your frequency. Curiosity, calm, and love elevate it. You go where your tone allows. Shamans have known this for millennia. Through rhythmic drumming, chanting, or plant allies, they shift frequency. Not to hallucinate, but to navigate, to diagnose illness, to retrieve soul fragments, to converse with ancestors. Their maps are vibrational, not geographical, and what they find there often holds the medicine needed here. Science is just beginning to catch up. Neuroscientists now recognize that perception is not fixed to the physical. Under the influence of certain frequencies, like binaural beats, magnetic pulses, or meditative rhythms, the brain decouples from strict sensory input. People report visions, insights, even experiences indistinguishable from waking life. The boundary between dimensions is vibrational, not spatial, and this is where it becomes personal. You've likely touched these states without knowing. A sudden knowing that doesn't come from thought. A vision behind your eyes. A dream that lingers for days. A voice that wasn't yours, yet spoke truth. These are not fantasies. They are frequency intersections. Your soul, vibrating briefly in another octave. You are not limited to the physical. But there's a reason most forget. Modern life is tuned to density, artificial lights, digital noise, stress rhythms. These keep the brain in beta, keep the field heavy. keep perception collapsed into the material, not maliciously, but systematically, because a soul that remembers its multidimensional nature cannot be controlled. So what can you do? Begin to retune, make space for silence. Enter meditative states daily, not as tasks, but as portals. Use sound, like crystal bowls, isochronic tones, or chanting, to entrain your field upward. Journal your dreams. Speak to the unseen as if it listens, because it does. And when you feel fear at the edges, pause. Fear is natural. It's the ego's way of saying, I'm losing control. And that's true. The small self cannot navigate the vast realms, but your essence can. Your resonance already knows the way. You are not the traveler. You are the path. And what you discover beyond this world can reshape how you walk in it. When you return from these states, you are changed. You see the subtle threads beneath people's words. You sense the energy behind events. You no longer rush decisions, because you know the future echoes in the present vibrationally. More than that, you gain clarity. You remember that death is not an end, but a transition of tone. That those who pass do not disappear. They change resonance. Their presence lingers, felt not in the ears, but in the heart, the field, the inner space where vibration sings. You also begin to understand karma differently, not as punishment, but as vibrational inertia. Frequencies seeking resolution, loops waiting to be retuned. You are not bound by them. You are invited to transform them. Not through effort, but through new resonance. Every time you enter these realms, whether through meditation, dream, breathwork, or prayer, you gather fragments of your forgotten self. You stitch together timelines. You remember that this life is not the full story. It is a chapter, a verse in a much larger symphony. And so you walk differently. You speak with more softness, act with more clarity, fear less, love more. Because you've touched the fabric behind the veil, and you carry its tone back into this world. This is your inheritance. You are not here to remain trapped in flesh and logic. You are here to harmonize the physical with the spiritual, to remember the song you came to sing, and to sing it boldly, beautifully, clearly. In the next section, we will dive deeper into that remembering, into how death itself is not the silence it seems, but a vibrational doorway, and how your resonance in life shapes your experience beyond the veil. You will see that what you do now, what you emit now, echoes far beyond this world. Death is not the end. It is not silence. It is not the void. It is a vibrational threshold, a passage from one realm of resonance to another. Just as ice turns to water and water to vapor without ceasing to exist, so too does the soul shift frequency at the moment we call death. You do not go anywhere. You tune differently. In the language of vibration, death is not a stop, but a transposition. The body drops in frequency. The soul rises. The separation is not in space, but in tone. And those who have crossed are still here, just playing in another key. But the resonance you carry in life determines what you experience after, not as judgment, not as reward or punishment, but as frequency matching. Just as water freezes below 0 degrees and boils above 100 degrees, so too does your soul attract specific realms based on its vibrational imprint. If your life was spent in fear, bitterness, or resentment, your field resonates with dense realms, thick, murky frequencies where light seems distant. But if your tone was love, compassion, integrity, you rise. You find yourself in luminous fields, places that feel like music you always knew but forgot. These realms are not fantasy. They are structure made of vibration. Color, sound, texture, everything is resonance. Edgar Cayce, the great sleeping prophet, often spoke of these planes. He described 7 realms beyond death, each correlating with soul vibration. In the lower planes, confusion persists. Souls cling to what they knew. They replay traumas, resist letting go, wander in liminal states. Not because they are condemned, but because their tone has not yet attuned to truth. In the mid-realms, clarity dawns. Souls remember purpose. They meet guides. They review their lives, not with shame, but insight. This is the life review so many near-death experiencers report. It is not punishment. It is resonance analysis. A full scan of how your tones affected others. Every thought, every word, every silence. Not to condemn, but to attune. And in the higher realms, unity sings. These are the places saints and mystics glimpsed. Fields of light where form dissolves, and all is frequency. No longer I and you, just harmony. Souls here do not return unless they choose to. They become guides, teachers, subtle architects of the vibrational field around the earth. But here is the forgotten truth. You don't have to die to reach these realms. You carry them within you, in deep meditation, in sacred music, in heart-opening moments. You touch them. The veil thins. A warmth floods the chest. Tears rise without reason. That is your soul brushing the edge of its origin. That is remembrance. And in those moments, fear of death vanishes. You see that life and death are 2 tones in the same symphony. That what you call the other side is not elsewhere. It is right here, behind a vibrational veil. The ones you've loved and lost are not gone. They are retuned. And when your field aligns with theirs, communication happens. In dreams, in signs, in sudden memories that make the air electric. This is not wishful thinking. It is vibrational intersection. The reason some cannot feel the departed is not lack of love, but dissonance. Grief can lower your tone, making the signal faint. But when you rise, through love, peace, and presence, you meet again, and that meeting heals. It reminds you, you are not your name. You are not your story. You are not your body. You are resonance. You are eternal tone, echoing through realms. Death does not end that. It amplifies it, and it also clarifies, because after death, all illusion dissolves. The masks drop. The false roles vanish. What remains is essence, vibration without distortion. This is why many souls experience a sense of lightness after death. Not because heaven is a place, but because density has been released. But what does this mean for life? It means now matters. Your tone now matters. Not because you're being judged, but because you are choosing your future resonance every moment. You are sculpting the realm you'll enter, not after death, but through the daily death of ego, of habit, of unconsciousness. You are dying and being reborn constantly. Every breath is a threshold. Every moment of awareness is a resurrection. When you forgive, you release weight. When you love, you rise in frequency. When you speak truth, your tone sharpens. This is vibrational living. This is spiritual maturity. You prepare for death not by fearing it, but by practicing resonance, living so aligned that the shift becomes seamless. No clinging, no confusion, just a soft transition into the next octave. This is what the Tibetan Book of the Dead teaches. Not rituals for the deceased, but instructions for the living. How to remain conscious through the bardos, those between world states, so the soul does not get lost in old tones, because many do. Some souls resist letting go. They stay near the earth plane, trying to replay the old song. These become what we call ghosts. Not evil, just out of tune, caught in feedback loops. Their liberation comes not through fear, but through resonance. Through love, prayers, chants, frequencies that lift. This is why sound is used in funerals. Bells, chants, hymns. Not for the living alone, but to guide the departing, to show the way, to resonate the path home. You can do this too, for your ancestors, for those you've lost, for parts of yourself that died along the way. Offer tone, sing, speak their names with reverence. Create sound that remembers. It matters because death listens, and so does life. Your soul is always listening, not to your thoughts, but to your frequency. And when that frequency becomes clear, when it rings true, you no longer fear the veil. You walk toward it with peace, because you know it's not the end. It's a modulation, and what lies beyond is not darkness. It is not judgment. It is music. The next movement of your eternal song. In the next section, we rise into that song, the harmonic web that links all beings, all planets, all dimensions. We enter the realm of the music of the spheres, and remember that the universe is not just vast, it is vibrating in perfect, sacred symmetry. Imagine standing in a vast, echoing chamber so immense it holds not only planets and stars, but your very breath. And now imagine, within that silence, you hear it. A low hum layered with overtones, shifting gently through infinite scales. Not noise, not chaos, but a cosmic harmony. This is not fantasy. This is the ancient truth of the music of the spheres. Long before telescopes, mystics knew that the heavens were not silent. They spoke in frequencies, subtle, imperceptible to the ear, but tangible to the soul. Pythagoras, the philosopher-scientist mystic, taught that each planet emits a tone, and that together, these tones form a perfect, divine harmony, inaudible, but deeply felt. This concept, lost in modern science, still rings through the intuitive heart. It's why certain nights feel charged, why full moons pull not only tides, but emotions, why some planetary alignments spark upheaval or revelation. These are not superstitions, they are resonances, planetary frequencies vibrating in vast, overlapping fields that include you, because you are part of the symphony. The atoms in your body resonate in the same ratios as those found in celestial orbits. Your brain waves mirror the Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic pulse of the Earth. Your heart beats in fractal patterns found in stars. You are not a bystander. You are an instrument in the orchestra of reality, and your tone affects the whole. When you align with your soul's frequency, you don't just feel better. You tune the field. You bring coherence to the collective vibration. Your inner harmony adds clarity to the planetary song. You become a stabilizer in times of chaos, a clear bell amid static. This is not spiritual poetry. It's physics of the soul. Just as one tuning fork causes another to vibrate in resonance, your clarity activates clarity in others. Your peace calms rooms. Your joy lifts strangers. Your coherence realigns distorted systems. This is how transformation truly happens, not through argument or force, but through frequency transference. But let's return to the cosmos. Modern astrophysics has begun to detect sound in space, not in air, but in vibrations within electromagnetic fields. The sun emits pulsations. Jupiter radiates massive low-frequency tones. Even black holes sing in deep, drawn-out frequencies. NASA has recorded these, translating them into audible tones. They are haunting, beautiful, familiar. You have heard them before, not with your ears, but in dreams, in moments of stillness, in the spaces between thoughts. That low, sacred hum, that sense that everything is alive, connected, singing, that is the music of the spheres echoing in your bones. Every tradition knew this. The Vedas spoke of Aum as the primordial sound from which all emerged. The Bible begins with, "Let there be light." But in Hebrew, the implication is vibration first, then light. The Quran calls attention to the harmony of creation as signs for those with inner hearing. The Kabbalah describes the tree of life as vibrating paths of divine emanation. Different words. One truth: creation is frequency, and that frequency is not random. It's intelligent, rhythmic, layered, like a cosmic composition unfolding in time. And you, dear listener, are a note in that composition. Not background, but foreground. The music would not be complete without you. So how do you rejoin the symphony? You listen, not just outwardly, but inwardly. Meditation becomes your stethoscope. Breath, your metronome. Silence, your sacred staff. You listen not for answers, but for rhythm. You observe where your life is dissonant, where your emotions are offbeat, where your actions are out of tune with your soul, and then you adjust. Sometimes this means changing careers, relationships, environments. But more often, it means retuning your attention, replacing complaint with gratitude, hurry with presence, resistance with flow. Each adjustment changes your resonance. Each small choice re-enters you into harmony, and the universe responds. Doors open, insights arrive, timing improves. Because you are now in rhythm with something vast, wise, and ancient. You stop fighting the current and begin dancing with it. This is not passivity, it is mastery. A great musician does not impose sound. They listen, they allow. They shape silence into song. So too do you, as a conscious being. You shape vibration into thought, word, action. And the more tuned you are, the more powerful your creation becomes. And this extends to collective creation. Humanity is a choir, and right now it is dissonant. Many sing in fear, in separation, in pain. But harmony is possible, not through uniformity, but through coherence. Each voice unique, but resonating from truth. This is the future of civilization. Not imposed order, but harmonic resonance. Imagine cities designed around tone, schools that teach through music, healing centers that restore the soul with frequency, leadership based not on charisma, but coherence. It is possible, and it begins with you, because you are always singing. Every emotion you feel, every word you speak, every intention you hold, it's all part of your tone. And that tone either adds to the noise or amplifies the sacred. So the invitation is simple. Tune yourself, not to escape this world, but to serve it. Not to transcend, but to transmit. To become a resonant being whose presence heals, whose words restore, whose silence recalibrates. You do not need to know every planet's frequency. You only need to find your own. Because when you do, when you live from that tone, you remember, you were never separate. You were never alone. You are the music of the spheres made flesh. You are a song the universe is still singing. And as we step forward, we leave the cosmos and return inward to explore how thought itself is frequency and how consciousness shapes not only experience, but matter. We ask, what are you really thinking? And what is it creating? Thoughts are not just mental chatter. They are not wisps of nothingness that vanish into the void. Thoughts are vibrational events, pulses, waves, frequencies broadcast into the quantum fabric of reality, and they do not disappear, they ripple. You are not simply thinking, you are transmitting. Each thought you hold generates a frequency pattern in your field. Each belief etches a signature into your vibration. Over time, these patterns form a sort of energetic architecture, a structure through which your life unfolds. This is not metaphor, it's mechanics. When a thought is repeated often enough, it becomes a dominant frequency. That dominant tone begins to attract, repulse, or alter the flow of energy in your field. People, situations, and opportunities begin to appear. Not because the world is changing, but because your field is broadcasting a new request. It is not what you want that shapes your life. It is what you resonate with. This is why two people in the same situation experience vastly different outcomes. One attracts betrayal, chaos, disappointment, because their thought field vibrates in fear and expectation of loss. The other receives support, synchronicity, and growth, because their thought field hums with trust and alignment. Reality is not static. It is responsive. It echoes your mental tone. But what happens when you think one thing and feel another? When your mind says, "I am safe," but your body still vibrates with anxiety? That is a frequency split, and it causes static, misalignment between layers of your being. The universe doesn't respond to words. It responds to coherence. You must believe, feel, and embody the thought for it to emit cleanly. This is why affirmations sometimes fail. If you repeat, "I am abundant," but your inner frequency is saturated with lack, the words become surface noise, empty tone. But when you root the thought in emotion, when your body feels what your mind declares, the frequency becomes stable. It begins to attract. Emotion is the carrier wave of thought. Think of your mind as the instrument and emotion as the amplifier. The more emotionally charged a thought is, the stronger its transmission. This is why trauma imprints so deeply, because it fuses thought with intense emotional vibration. And it's also why healing must happen not only intellectually, but vibrationally. You must shift the emotional tone behind the thought. Let's look deeper. Neuroscience shows that every thought you think is accompanied by electrical impulses, brain waves. These waves emit frequencies, alpha, beta, theta, delta, gamma, that correspond to different states of consciousness. When you think calmly and intentionally, your brain emits coherent patterns. When you're stressed or scattered, your waves become erratic, dissonant. This is measurable, but it's also mystical, because those brainwave patterns influence the heart field, the largest electromagnetic field in your body. The heart doesn't just beat, it broadcasts. It sends signals up to the brain, not the other way around. And when thought and heart are in sync, your entire field harmonizes. This is the foundation of heart-brain coherence. In that state, reality bends, doors open, timing improves, healing accelerates. Because you are no longer sending mixed signals to the universe. You are clear, aligned, resonant. So how do you begin? Start by noticing your dominant thoughts. Not just what you think about, but what you think as. Are your thoughts based in fear or freedom, doubt or trust, separation or connection? Then check the tone of your internal voice. Is it sharp, dismissive, urgent, or is it calm, curious, kind? Tone matters more than content. A thought wrapped in judgment carries a different frequency than the same thought wrapped in compassion. Next, align thought with action. It is not enough to think, "I am worthy," and then betray your boundaries. The body receives mixed signals. The field becomes confused. But when you think it, feel it, and act it, you encode the thought into reality. This is vibrational integrity, and it builds momentum. Each aligned thought adds resonance to your field. Each time you choose coherence over chaos, you reinforce your frequency. Over time, the pattern becomes stable. Your default shifts. You no longer have to fight for alignment. It becomes your nature. And when it does, you become magnetic. Not in a flashy, performative way, but in a grounded, luminous way. People feel it. They don't know why they trust you, why they open up, why they feel lighter around you, but they do. Because your field is clean. Your thoughts are harmonious. You are coherent. But this takes practice, because the world constantly tempts you into static. News, distractions, arguments, unresolved trauma all lower your tone. The key is not avoidance, but awareness. When you dip, notice. Pause. Realign. Come back to the thought that anchors your truth. This is spiritual discipline, not denial, but devotion. You become a guardian of your own frequency, and when you do, you realize your thoughts are not just yours. They ripple outward. They influence the collective field. Each coherent mind becomes a tuning fork for humanity. Each aligned thinker adds stability to the chaos. You are not powerless. You are a broadcaster. And what you transmit matters. Because as we will explore in the next section, sound is not limited to voice or instruments. Your very being becomes a vibration that others feel. And when your inner tone is clear, your outer presence becomes medicine. You walk into rooms and shift the air, not by trying, but by resonating. You are always speaking, even in silence. Before you say a word, before you move a muscle, your presence announces itself. Your vibration walks into the room before you do. It hums through your posture, your breath, your gaze, your stillness. You are a living broadcast tower, and others are tuning in, consciously or not. This is why some people feel calming without speaking, others draining even when kind. The difference lies not in behavior, but in vibrational coherence. When your inner world aligns, when thoughts, emotions, and actions harmonize, you emit a clear tone. And that tone speaks louder than words. It shapes space. It stabilizes chaos. It lifts those near you. It awakens forgotten parts of others, just by being. This is the lost art of resonant presence. It was once the mark of true teachers. They didn't convert with doctrine. They emanated truth. Their tone shifted rooms. Their gaze pierced illusions. People left their company transformed, though nothing happened. Why? Because frequency is contagious, and you hold this power too. You don't need a title or robe. You don't need followers or scripts. You need clarity of tone, a life lived in resonance. When your inner frequency is clean, your outer world cannot help but reflect it. This is why monks sit in silence and still shift cities, why healers touch without words, why mystics speak softly yet shake the soul. Their presence is not performance, it is alignment. The field does the speaking. But what is this field? It is the electromagnetic aura your body emits, measurable, malleable, and profoundly communicative. HeartMath research shows your heart's field extends several feet beyond your body. It carries emotional information, and others unconsciously entrain to it, meaning your calm calms them, your anxiety agitates them, your coherence clarifies them. You are always tuning others. The question is, to what? To unconscious tension? To hidden resentment? To deep-rooted peace? You cannot hide vibration. You can only align it. So the real work of communication begins not in the throat, but in the soul. And it begins in solitude. To cultivate resonant presence, you must first become intimate with your own tone. Sit in silence. Listen, not for words, but for feeling. Scan the body. Where is the static? Where is the harmony? What thoughts create noise? What emotions bring music? This is not meditation for escape. It is inner attunement. Then, test it in the world. Notice how people respond when you enter a space. Not their words, their eyes, breath, posture. Do they soften? Do they brace? Do they open? This is real-time feedback of your field, not as a judgment, but as a mirror. Over time, your presence becomes your message. You no longer persuade, you resonate. And those who are ready will respond. Not because you argued well, but because your tone calls them home. But beware, resonance also reveals. When your tone becomes clear, distortion becomes obvious. People still stuck in shadow may react. They may project, resist, or leave. This is not failure. It's vibrational refinement. Your light stirs their static. Your alignment unsettles their dissonance. Stay grounded. Do not shrink to soothe others' discomfort. Do not dim your tone to match the room. Instead, anchor your resonance and let it do its work. Because sometimes, your silence will awaken more than your speech. Sometimes, the way you breathe, sit, or listen will open doors in others they didn't know were locked. Sometimes, just being with someone in full presence becomes the healing. No fixing, no saving, just being. This is frequency alchemy, and it's not a performance. It's a practice, a way of walking, listening, touching, seeing. It begins with self-honesty, with removing the masks, with aligning your tone, not to impress, but to integrate. The body becomes a tuning fork, the voice a bell, the gaze a mirror. And in your presence, others remember themselves, not because you told them, but because your frequency gave permission. You become a living transmission, a walking invitation to coherence. And in this state, your every movement becomes sacred. Washing dishes is a vibration. Hugging is a transmission. Silence is music. You no longer separate spiritual and mundane. Everything becomes frequency. Everything becomes your field. And you realize you've always been transmitting. The difference now is awareness. So cultivate it. Ask, what am I broadcasting? Each day, refine the tone. Not for perfection, but for presence. Not for applause, but for alignment. And over time, your very existence becomes a medicine. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are. This is your greatest gift. And in the next section, we explore how this vibrational presence can be distorted. How modern noise, electromagnetic interference, and artificial signals hijack the field. And how to reclaim your resonance in a world designed to detune you. In a world built on signal, interference is inevitable. We are surrounded by waves. Wi-Fi, 5G, radio, television, satellite, Bluetooth. Invisible pulses of information saturate the air, forming a sea of electromagnetic frequency through which we walk, breathe, and sleep. And while these signals enable modern life, they also detune the human field. You are an antenna, a transmitter, a receiver. Your body, mind, and soul are exquisitely sensitive instruments. And like any finely tuned instrument, you can be thrown off key, not just emotionally or mentally, but electrically. This is the distortion of resonance. Unlike emotional disharmony, which originates within, electromagnetic interference, EMI, is external static. It vibrates at unnatural frequencies, disrupting the body's natural rhythms. Studies now show that constant exposure to artificial EMFs affects sleep cycles, heart coherence, hormonal balance, and even emotional stability. But more than that, it disorients the soul's compass. When your field is bombarded by conflicting signals, your intuition grows dim. Your inner voice, once clear and gentle, becomes a murmur lost in the noise. You feel anxious without cause, tired but restless, connected but unfulfilled, like you've been unplugged from your own source. This is not paranoia, it is physics. The Schumann resonance, Earth's natural frequency, is approximately 7.83 Hertz. It synchronizes with your alpha brainwaves, the state of relaxed awareness. Yet most modern devices emit in the megahertz to gigahertz range, millions to billions of hertz, jarring, frenetic pulses that drown the Earth's tone. You are not just living on Earth, you are made of her. Your cells, water, and nervous system evolved in harmony with her pulse. When you lose that synchronization, dis-ease begins. Not only physical, but spiritual dis-ease. A forgetting of rhythm, a severing from the song. So what can you do? Retune your field, reclaim your tone. This is not about fear, but awareness. You don't need to live in a cave. You need to build rituals of resonance. Begin by limiting unnecessary exposure. Turn off devices at night. Ground your body on the earth daily. Avoid oversaturation from screens and noise, then restore with natural frequencies. Walk barefoot on soil or sand to absorb the earth's charge. Listen to 432 Hz or 528 Hz music, which aligns with natural harmonics. Use crystal or Tibetan bowls to entrain your energy field. Meditate beneath trees, beside rivers, or under the stars. These are not superstitions, they are vibrational medicine. And remember, nature is not outside you. It is the original tuning chamber. When you re-enter her field, your own begins to recalibrate. Your breath slows, thoughts soften, awareness deepens. This is resonance healing. But there's more. Beyond physical interference lies mental interference. The information storm. Every scroll, every ad, every notification is a frequency. It enters your field. It competes for attention. It embeds thought patterns, subtly shaping your tone without consent. The more you absorb, the more your field fills. Not with clarity, but clutter. You become noisy within, and that noise distorts manifestation, intuition, and peace. It scatters your frequency, like too many tabs open on a computer, slowing your system, draining your energy, fragmenting your awareness. Silence becomes not just restful, it becomes sacred resistance. To unplug is a revolutionary act. To sit in silence is a tuning ritual. To fast from input is a return to inner voice. In ancient traditions, seekers went to the desert, the mountain, the cave, not to escape, but to refine, to strip away the noise of the world so their true tone could emerge. You can do the same, even for 5 minutes, in your room, in your breath. Create resonance sanctuaries, spaces in your life where only coherence lives. It could be a room without devices, a time of day without input, a walk without distraction, a ritual of sound, breath, or stillness. These moments stitch your field back together. They strengthen your signal, and from that strength, you become immune. Not by blocking the world, but by out-resonating it. Your field becomes dominant. You walk into noisy rooms and bring silence. You scroll through chaos without losing center. You hold frequency like a monk holds mantra, not perfectly, but faithfully. And this transforms not only you, but your environment. Remember, coherence is contagious. Your resonance stabilizes your family, your work, your community. Without words, without preaching, just by being. Your clarity becomes a lighthouse, and others begin to remember their tone. They unplug, they breathe, they listen. This is the silent revolution, not of protest, but of presence, not of defiance, but of frequency sovereignty. You do not belong to the noise. You are not wired for distortion. You are an echo of the original harmony, and every time you return to it, through stillness, nature, or conscious sound, you reclaim yourself. In the next section, we go deeper into spiritual technology, how ancient tools, sacred symbols, and intentional sound can be used to amplify your frequency and restructure your reality. You will see that resonance is not only natural, it can be consciously engineered. Long before silicon circuits and glowing screens, humanity built another kind of technology, crafted not from metal or code, but from sound, light, symbol, and sacred geometry. This was the age of spiritual technology, where tools were designed not to capture data, but to attune vibration, to realign the soul. Temples were not mere buildings, they were resonance chambers. Every stone, every angle, every symbol carved into the walls of Egypt, Angkor Wat, Chichen Itza, or the temples of Delphi held purpose. They were structured not for aesthetic, but for frequency amplification. Geometry wasn't decoration, it was function. Pythagorean ratios were encoded into architecture to induce altered states, balance energy fields, and open gateways. In these spaces, even silence had weight. Pilgrims didn't come to learn, they came to remember. To stand in the presence of a place built in alignment with celestial rhythms, earth energies, and the human subtle body. When they sang, the walls sang back. When they breathed, the air vibrated with purpose. These temples were ancient instruments, and their resonance still lingers. Today, the structures remain, but the understanding has faded. We take pictures without hearing the music. We speak of ruins without remembering they once tuned souls like harps. But the knowledge is not lost. It lives in symbols, in chants, in breath. Let's begin with symbols: the spiral, the triangle, the vesica piscis, the seed of life. These are not art. They are frequency codes. When you gaze upon them with intention, they stir memory. They activate dormant geometry in your subtle body. Your cells begin to respond, not because they understand the image, but because they resonate with its math. This is sacred geometry, visual resonance. And then there is sound, mantras, chants, binaural beats, bowls, drums. Every culture used sound to alter states, to cleanse, to awaken. Not all sound is healing, but intentional sound is. A chant repeated with clarity can restructure water, brainwaves, and even cellular health. Om, Amen. Aho, Hu. These are primordial tones found across civilizations. Why? Because they are not cultural. They are universal vibrational keys. When intoned sincerely, they bring the body into alignment with deeper fields. Modern science is just beginning to catch up. Cymatics reveals how sound organizes matter. A single frequency can turn dust into perfect geometric forms. Water responds to emotion-laden speech. Your body, made mostly of water, is constantly being shaped by sound. What you listen to becomes your structure. So what are you feeding your field? Is it noise or nourishment? Begin a daily practice of intentional sound exposure. Listen to 432 Hz or 528 Hz music, not passively, but with presence. Chant softly in the morning. Hum when anxious. Let your voice be the tuning fork. Sound is not performance. It is vibrational hygiene. Next, consider breath. Breath is the bridge between unconscious and conscious. between matter and spirit. Every exhale carries frequency. Every inhale recharges the field. When you breathe intentionally, in rhythms, in sacred ratio, you begin to unlock higher coherence. Pranayama, box breathing. Resonant breathing at 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 out. These are not trends. They are bioresonance tools. Combined with sound and symbol, breath becomes a sacred technology. Even your intention is a tool, not mystical, but mechanical. Where focus goes, energy flows. And when that focus is pure, free from fear, doubt, and fragmentation, it becomes a laser of vibration. Thoughts crystallize, emotions stabilize, synchronicity increases. This is not magic, it is resonance at work. But spiritual technology must be wielded with integrity. Just as electricity can light or burn, vibrational tools amplify your state. If you approach them with distortion, they reflect it. A mantra chanted for ego inflates the ego. A symbol used for control disrupts the field. True use requires purity of heart. You are both the instrument and the musician. You don't need to travel to ancient temples. You can build your own. Create a space where geometry, sound, light, and breath converge. A room, a corner, even a moment in the shower. Let it become your frequency calibration chamber. Enter it daily. Tune yourself. Then return to the world carrying that tone. Because this is the true purpose of spiritual technology. Not to escape life, but to elevate it. Not to bypass the body, but to embody higher resonance. Not to worship symbols, but to become one. You are the temple. You are the chant. You are the breath of the divine made audible. And in the next section, we turn inward again, to the Akashic Field, the vibrational memory of the soul. A place beyond time where all past, present, and future frequencies exist. A place you can access not with effort, but with resonance. There is a library that holds no books. Its shelves are not made of wood, and its archives are not made of paper. It is the Akashic Field, a vibrational archive that records every thought, emotion, action, and intention ever made across time, not in language, but in frequency. You do not need a password to access it. You already are tuned to it. For you are not separate from the field. You are a node within it. Every soul is. Your essence is encoded in this great resonant matrix. You are both author and reader of your soul's book, written not with ink, but with vibration. The word Akasha means ether in Sanskrit, the subtle substance of the cosmos, the fifth element. Not matter, not energy, but the medium in which both move. It is the field beneath the field, the spiritual substrate from which all form emerges. Modern physics has a whisper of this truth. Erwin Laszlo, philosopher of science, proposes the Akashic Field as a unified informational field underlying reality. A quantum memory matrix. While science calls it zero-point field or quantum vacuum, the mystics have known it for millennia. The Akashic Records, and you have touched it. Every time you've had a deep déjà vu, every time you've met someone and instantly known them, every time you've sensed a truth beyond logic, or remembered something you never learned, that is Akashic resonance. It is not reading with the mind, but remembering with the soul. You do not access the Akasha with effort. You access it by matching frequency. It is not a database, it is a symphony. To retrieve a memory, you must play its note. To receive guidance, you must become still enough to hear the song. This is why silence, meditation, and dream states are powerful gateways. They drop the noise. They attune your field. They shift your awareness from linear to holographic perception, where past, present, and potential future coexist. Let's be clear, the Akashic records are not fate. They do not trap you in karma. They do not dictate your life. They reflect your resonance. They offer insight, not imposition. You remain a creator, not of fixed outcomes, but of vibrational timelines. When you shift your frequency, you shift your story, and the field responds. This is why healing the past does not require reliving every trauma. It requires changing the tone of how you hold that memory. The Akasha is updated not by chronology, but by coherence. When you forgive, the vibrational record rewrites. When you reclaim a part of yourself lost in shame, the resonance upgrades. You are the editor of your soul's manuscript, and you can revisit any chapter, not to dwell, but to retune. There are techniques, sitting in meditation and asking to connect to your records. Using sacred questions that begin with, "What is the resonance of?" Listening for responses not as words, but as vibrational impressions, a feeling, an image, a shift in breath or heartbeat. Often, answers come not instantly, but through synchronicity. A sentence in a book, a lyric in a song, a sudden knowing while washing dishes. The Akashic Field is not loud, but it is precise. To access it more deeply, purify your field, because distortion blocks reception. When you are steeped in anger, addiction, or chronic distraction, your frequency drifts. You lose signal clarity. The Akasha doesn't disappear. You simply can't match its tone. But the moment you realign with breath, gratitude, humility, you reconnect. And in this connection, wisdom flows. You may glimpse past lifetimes, not as fantasy, but as energetic patterns that explain current challenges. You may receive guidance for decisions, not in steps, but in frequency maps. What choices bring expansion versus contraction? You may meet guides, ancestors, or aspects of your higher self, all speaking in tone, not ego. And this is the true miracle. You become both the student and the source, because the Akasha is not out there. It lives within. Your DNA is an antenna, your intuition, a receiver, your heart, a translator. You were built to commune with the field. The veil is only belief. The doorway is resonance. And once opened, life changes. You stop seeing events as random. You begin to feel design. You sense that your soul has a curriculum, and every challenge is a teacher in vibration. This is not passive acceptance. This is active participation in your evolution. You begin to ask deeper questions. What am I here to remember? What frequency is my soul called to anchor? What am I transmitting into the field with each breath, thought, and choice? Because the Akasha is not just memory, it is mirror. It reflects not only who you have been, but who you are becoming. And as we move to the next section, we will explore exactly that. The mechanics of vibrational destiny. How the frequencies you hold today ripple forward to sculpt the unfolding path of your soul. And how your future is not written in stone, but sung into existence. Destiny is not a map. It is a melody unfolding in real time, shaped by your frequency, not your fate. You are not a passive traveler on a pre-written path. You are the composer of your journey, and every thought, every choice, every feeling is a note you add to the evolving score of your life. Destiny is not something you meet. It is something you resonate into being. Let us abandon the illusion of preordained timelines. The future does not exist as a fixed event. It exists as a field of possibilities, each vibrating at a different frequency. And whichever tone you embody, you begin to attract the timeline that matches it. You walk toward it not with steps, but with vibration. This is the secret the ancients encoded into ritual and prophecy. When oracles saw the future, they were reading resonance. When shamans traveled to alternate timelines, they were shifting frequency. They understood that the future is not found, it is tuned. And you too are tuning, consciously or unconsciously, every moment of your life. Consider this. Every version of your future self already exists in the quantum field. There is a version of you more alive, more aligned, more free. That version is not waiting. It is vibrating. It is singing a tone that matches your highest potential. The question is, can you hear it? And more importantly, can you match it? You do not reach your highest self by effort alone. You reach it by resonance, by feeling the tone of that future and becoming it now. Not pretending, not wishing, but vibrating as if it were already true. This is the art of vibrational destiny. Begin here. Ask yourself, what does my highest self feel like? Not what they do, not what they have, but what they radiate. Peace, joy, courage, clarity. Then ask, where in my life is that tone missing? Where do I contract instead of expand? Where do I delay joy? Where do I betray my inner song? The answers are the entry points. You don't need to leap into a new life. You need to tune into a new tone. Small choices, tiny harmonizations, a breath of presence, a word of truth, a release of an old fear. Each act a frequency correction. Over time, you become more resonant with the timeline you desire, and life begins to shift. Not all at once, but with increasing coherence. The right people arrive. The old patterns unravel. What once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Not because it was meant to be, but because you aligned with it. This is not mystical optimism, it's vibrational alignment. Remember, everything in the universe operates by resonance. From molecules to galaxies, from relationships to revolutions. You don't get what you want. You get what you vibrate. Destiny, then, is not imposed from above. It emerges from within. And the future is not something to fear. It is something to sculpt. This is the shift from karma to creation. Karma says, repeat the past until you learn. Creation says, choose a new tone, and the past no longer defines you. And yes, some karmic patterns must be faced, but they are not punishments. They are incomplete frequencies, notes that need resolution. When you face them not with guilt, but with resonance, when you bring love, compassion, and alignment, they transform. Your vibration edits your story. You are always editing. Each time you act from truth, you rewrite what comes next. Each time you surrender fear, you free energy for a new direction. Each time you forgive, you release the old chord and compose a clearer one. And this applies collectively. Humanity is a chorus. Right now, many sing in fear, scarcity, division, but others are holding tones of love, unity, and awakening. These tones are not theoretical. They are real fields, rippling outward, inviting others to attune. You are part of this symphony. Your frequency matters more than your status, role, or credentials. What you emit into the field changes the song. You can't always control the instruments around you, but you can choose the note you hold. The note becomes a beacon, a signal, a new attractor in the field. And when enough people hold a new tone, the timeline shifts. This is not hope. It is resonant mechanics. The future bends toward coherence. The higher the resonance, the stronger the pull. So begin today, not with a plan, but with a tone. Speak as if love were true. Walk as if your soul were sovereign. Breathe as if the earth were alive. Decide as if you mattered to the cosmos, because you do. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean, aware of itself as a drop. And your vibration ripples across dimensions you cannot yet imagine. You are already tuning the future. The question is, will it echo your fear or your fullness? In the next section, we will deepen this truth. We will explore how collective frequencies shape world events, and how consciousness is not merely personal, but planetary. You will see how inner resonance becomes the architecture of a new earth. The world is not just made of matter. It is made of mind, shaped by waves of collective thought and emotion, woven together into the vibrational field we call reality. Every war, every revolution, every cultural renaissance, each is born first, not in policy or circumstance, but in resonance. A critical mass of human frequency accumulates, and then the world reflects it. You are not isolated. You are immersed in the collective field, and that field is alive. It is made of every emotion ever felt, every belief ever held, every intention ever whispered into the ether. It is an energetic atmosphere, and like weather, it affects everyone. But unlike weather, it can be changed from within. We call this planetary consciousness. It is not mystical abstraction. It is vibrational ecology. Just as pollution poisons the air, unresolved trauma, collective fear, and unconscious patterns poison the psychic space of humanity. And just as ecosystems thrive through balance, so too does the planetary field thrive through coherent consciousness. You are both affected by this field and affecting it. When you meditate in love, you add harmony. When you spiral in fear, you amplify chaos. When you speak truth with kindness, you clarify the tone. Your state of being is not private, it is participatory. This is why ancient wisdom traditions placed such importance on inner purification, not for moral reasons, but for resonant hygiene. A chaotic heart broadcasts static. A peaceful mind becomes a tuning fork for healing. Let us go deeper. Studies in quantum entanglement show that particles separated by great distances can still respond to one another instantaneously. Mystics have known this for centuries. All consciousness is entangled. What you do to yourself, you do to the field. This is why forgiveness matters, not only to heal your past, but to heal the human field. Every grudge released is a note of discord erased. Every act of compassion recalibrates the world. You may not see it on the news, but you feel it in the unseen atmosphere of possibility. And it scales. Imagine a city where 1,000 people meditate daily. The field shifts. Violence drops. Innovation rises. Children feel safer. Streets feel softer. Why? Because coherent frequency overrides chaotic noise. The Maharishi effect, the documented drop in crime and unrest during group meditation studies, is not anomaly. It is resonance in action. You don't need to lead a movement to change the world. You need to become coherently yourself. One person, deeply aligned, transmits a field stronger than 1,000 minds in disarray. Because resonance is not linear, it is exponential. This is the foundation of the new Earth. Not a planet relocated or rescued, but a frequency upgraded, not through escape, but through embodiment. You don't wait for the new world. You build it through the tone you hold, the truth you speak, the love you live. Not someday, now, not with a banner, with a breath. Each time you act from inner truth, you plant a vibrational seed. Each time you meet conflict with presence, you break an old pattern. Each time you create with joy, you add to the symphony of evolution. This is how heaven invades earth. not with clouds and trumpets, but with frequency, felt in the body, shared through the heart. The real revolution is vibrational, but be warned, the old systems are built on fear, and as the new frequency rises, the old will tremble. It will scream louder. It will try to pull you back into chaos. This is not regression. It is the dying scream of dissonance. Hold your tone. When the news shakes you, breathe deeper. When social media distorts truth, unplug and return to nature. When people react with anger, offer them your presence, not your panic. You are here not to escape the world, but to retune it. You are the bridge between chaos and coherence, fear and freedom, separation and sacred unity. And you are not alone. Across the globe, others are waking, tuning, singing a new song, some in temples, some in studios, some in hospitals, some in silence. You may never meet them, but you are resonating with them. This is the unseen network, the grid of awakening. And every time you choose love over fear, clarity over confusion, stillness over noise, you strengthen it. You are part of something vast, ancient, and alive. So ask yourself, what song does the earth need from you now? What tone do you carry into each interaction? What is your soul's frequency gift to the whole? Because in the next section, we will explore how to stabilize this frequency, how to build daily practices that anchor the vibration of awakening in your nervous system, your habits, your relationships, and your service to the world. Resonance is not a fleeting moment of inspiration, it is a practice. To carry your frequency through life's storms, you must stabilize your tone. You must root resonance into the rhythm of your days, not as ritual for ritual's sake, but as daily devotion to your highest vibration. Awakening without anchoring leads to collapse. Many glimpse truth, feel love, taste unity, only to fall back into old frequencies. Not because the resonance was false, but because it was unsupported. Frequency must become form. Insight must become infrastructure. So how do you build a resonance practice? Start small, start consistent, start now. 1. Morning frequency. Tuning. How you begin your day sets your tone. Before you touch your phone, tune yourself. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. Place a hand on your heart. Breathe in for 5.5 seconds, out for 5.5 seconds. Whisper your chosen resonance. Peace, clarity, gratitude, feel it. Not as concept, but as felt frequency in your body. This is not performance. This is alignment. Let your nervous system taste the tone of the day before the world tries to distort it. 2. Sacred sound. Integration. Once a day, introduce vibrational sound into your field. Listen to 432 Hz or 528 Hz music. Chant a mantra, not loudly, but consistently. Hum while you walk, drive, or rest. Use a singing bowl or tuning fork to reset your field. Sound is not background, it is medicine. Let it tune the instrument of your body. Let your cells remember harmony. 3. Movement as resonance. The body is a resonant chamber. Movement releases static and restores flow. You don't need choreography, you need presence. Stretch slowly with breath. Walk mindfully, feet connecting with earth. Dance without reason. Shake off excess energy. Let the body sing its own language. Let motion become devotion. 4. Energetic hygiene. Just as you bathe daily, cleanse your field. Brush your aura with intention. Visualize light sweeping through your body. Journal to release emotional noise. Take salt baths or smudge with sage. This is not superstition. It is frequency sanitation. A clear field receives more signal, holds more tone. 5. Aligned speech. Every word you speak vibrates. Notice your tone. Are your words rushed, sharp, scattered, or slow, spacious, intentional? Speak as if your words sculpt the world, because they do. Pause before reacting. Breathe before advising. Whisper your truth instead of shouting someone else's fear. 6. Resonant relationships. Your frequency is affected by who you connect with. Surround yourself with people who amplify your tone, not distort it. And when you cannot choose who is around, choose who you are within it. You can hold resonance even in dissonant company. Anchor. Breathe. Become the tuning fork that gently influences the room. 7. Closing the day with coherence. End each day as you began, in conscious tone. Reflect on the vibrational highlights of the day. Release any frequencies that are not yours. Thank your body, your breath, your awareness. Fall asleep imagining yourself wrapped in your chosen tone. Let sleep become a portal of recalibration. These practices are not about discipline. They are about devotion to the frequency you know you came to carry. They don't require perfection. They require return. When you fall out of tune, come back. When you spiral, breathe. When you forget, forgive. The power is not in staying high. The power is in the return to resonance. Over time, your field becomes stable. Others will feel it before they understand it. You will walk into spaces and change their tone without a word. You will create not from force, but from field. You will draw people, opportunities, and synchronicities, not because you chase them, but because your vibration magnetizes them. This is not magic. This is resonance grounded in routine, and it becomes a way of life. You no longer think about alignment. You become it. You don't visit presence. You live from it. You don't chase purpose. You express it, moment to moment, tone by tone. And this changes the world, because frequency is contagious. And the more stable your tone, the more the world tunes to you. As you practice, remember, you are not alone. Every act of resonance, no matter how small, joins a global choir. You are part of a living network of tone holders, field keepers, frequency weavers. Your devotion echoes beyond your life. It vibrates through the field of humanity. In the next section, we will move into the mystical science of imprinting. How your vibration not only influences your present reality, but leaves an energetic legacy that shapes generations to come. You will see that your frequency is not temporary. It is eternal. You are not just living a life. You are leaving a frequency signature. Every thought you hold, every emotion you embody, every action you take, it all imprints the field. Not only into your now, but into the resonant fabric of time. Just as a bell continues to ring after being struck, your soul's vibration ripples far beyond this moment. This body, this incarnation, this is the mystical science of imprinting. Legacy is not only what you build, it is what you broadcast. You may never write a book, launch a movement, or erect a monument. Yet your resonance becomes part of the planetary memory. Your frequency contributes to the evolutionary tone of humanity. What if you lived as though that were true? Because it is. Let's go deeper. Every place you walk into, you leave a vibrational trail. Every word you speak embeds frequency in the air. Every relationship, every choice, every silence, even those you thought forgotten, echo through the Akashic Field. The more conscious your tone, the more potent the imprint. This is why sages radiated stillness, why certain rooms still feel sacred centuries after those who prayed in them have passed. Because frequency outlives form. Resonance becomes architecture. It shapes the unseen foundations of what comes next. This is not sentimental, it is energetic law. Your children will feel your tone more than your advice. Your community will inherit your frequency more than your doctrine. The earth remembers you not by your accomplishments, but by the vibration you lived. This is how energetic ancestry works. You are not only shaped by your lineage, you are actively shaping your descendants, and not only by genetics, but by field dynamics. What you heal in yourself, you prevent from repeating. What you embody, you pass on. Every time you transmute a wound into wisdom, a frequency is cleared from the generational cord. Every time you live from truth, you imprint possibility into your soul group. Your healing becomes their inheritance. And not only your family, your species, because collective imprinting is real. Mass consciousness is molded by those willing to hold vision, clarity, and alignment beyond the trends of the moment. The prophets, the poets, the monks, the mothers, their resonance lingers in the quantum soil. You are walking through the frequencies they planted, and now it's your turn. What tone will you leave? Ask yourself, is my presence leaving calm or confusion? Are my relationships encoded with love or fear? Does my work resonate with truth or distortion? What will my frequency whisper long after I am gone? This is not about pressure. It's about presence. You're not meant to be perfect. You're meant to be clear, to live aligned enough that your frequency becomes medicine for generations you will never meet. The greatest legacy is not wealth, fame, or success. It is resonant clarity. A life lived so true that the field remembers. And this memory doesn't just rest in the ether, it returns. Karma is not punishment. It is vibrational momentum. The field you shape now will greet you in the future, whether in this life or the next. The world you leave becomes the world you return to. This is why ancient cultures emphasized right action, not from fear of hell, but from knowledge of energetic echo. When you know you will walk back into your own resonance, you begin to live differently. You become the guardian of your field. And when you live this way, even death changes meaning. Because what dies is the form, not the frequency. Your resonance continues. Your soul rides the tone you built. It becomes your chariot, your next incarnation, your magnetic path. What you vibrate, you attract, not only now, but eternally. So begin now. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose compassion over control. Choose alignment over appearance. Choose love, not the emotion, but the tone that holds all things in coherence. Let every breath be an offering. Let every moment be an imprint. Let your life become a symphony of remembrance. You may not see the full ripple, but the field does. The future does. And the next section will guide us into that future, not as prophecy, but as a resonant invitation. We will explore the culmination of this journey, what it means to live as a being of vibration in a world awakening to its true nature, and how to stand as a living frequency bridge between what was and what is becoming. The world is awakening, not through revolution, but through resonance. Not by force, but by frequency. What you're witnessing in this era is not just social change or technological acceleration. It is a vibrational threshold, a moment where humanity is beginning to remember what it truly is, a collective of sentient frequencies, dreaming together in the field of form. To live as a vibrational being is to live with a new kind of presence. You no longer measure reality solely through what you can see, touch, or own. You begin to sense reality as a symphony of energy, where every thought is a note, every emotion a chord, and every encounter a duet of consciousness. You become aware that you are not walking through the world, you are interpenetrating it. The trees feel your frequency, the rooms echo your tone. The people around you react not only to your words, but to the hidden harmonics you carry. This level of awareness births a different kind of responsibility, one not rooted in guilt, but in sacred stewardship. You begin to move slower. You listen deeper. You speak more carefully, not from fear, but from reverence for the power your vibration holds. You become a guardian of coherence in a dissonant world, and you begin to see everything differently. Anger in others, a tone distorted by pain. conflict in society, a frequency seeking resolution. Depression in yourself, a note that longs to return home. You no longer react to appearances. You tune into essence. You shift your lens from judgment to frequency, and this changes everything. Now your goals evolve. No longer about what you can accumulate, but what you can emulate. You ask, am I radiating truth? Am I holding clarity? Am I attuned to life or resisting it? You understand that the greatest contribution you can make is not your opinion, not your productivity, but your presence. A calm nervous system is a gift. A kind gaze is a transmission. A moment of deep listening can ripple further than a lifetime of noise. This is what it means to live vibrationally. To be a field shaper, not a passive reactor. To carry your resonance like a sacred instrument. To walk not with answers, but with frequency that opens doors. And yes, you will forget. You will fall out of tune. But your return is the practice. Your remembrance is the power. Each time you choose to breathe before reacting. Each time you choose to feel rather than flee. Each time you choose to honor your truth even when it shakes. You reattune. You become the echo of a future self calling you forward. A self that is anchored, radiant, sovereign. A self that doesn't fight the world, but sings it anew. A self that recognizes everyone, every soul, as a vibration on its own path to harmony. This is not spiritual performance. It is energetic maturity. You don't seek perfection. You seek alignment. You don't avoid contrast. You transmute it. You don't hide your shadow. You harmonize it. And in doing so, you become something rare. A human who remembers they are made of music. A soul who shapes reality not with force, but with field. A presence that changes rooms without needing to speak. This is who you truly are beneath the noise. A living, breathing, resonant gateway between heaven and earth. So live like it. Speak like it. Choose like it. And if ever you forget, pause and tune back in. Because the world is listening. The future is listening. The universe is listening. And it is your frequency that writes the next verse. There comes a moment in every soul's journey where knowledge becomes knowing, where seeking becomes stillness, where the outer quest quiets, and the inner vibration begins to sing on its own. This is that moment, not because you've arrived, but because you've remembered. Remembered that you are not separate from reality, that your thoughts are not private, that your emotions are not random, that every moment you are radiating and the world is responding. Remembered that the universe is not mute. It speaks in frequency, and your soul was born fluent. You no longer need to chase answers. You need to hold your tone. This tone, your essence, is your compass, your offering, your legacy. It cannot be replicated. It cannot be lost. It can only be remembered, honored, and transmitted. You are not here to fix the world. You are here to tune it, to sing into its chaos a note of coherence, to walk as a field of living alignment. Even now, as you sit, read, breathe, you are imprinting. You are sculpting timelines with your resonance. So the invitation is simple and eternal. Live with frequency. Choose silence when the world shouts. Choose softness when the world hardens. Choose stillness not as escape, but as signal. Let every breath be sacred. Let every word be deliberate. Let every step leave behind a note of remembrance. You are not just here to survive. You are here to sing the cosmos awake. This is not a metaphor. This is the deeper truth. The truth that your soul has always known. Now go live it, and never forget. The universe is listening, and your resonance is the answer it has been waiting for.